Andy Curtin. I'm here with my buddy Vivek.
I'm going with Mabu Army today.
I like Marble's Army as
Marble's Army,
my
I'll do
best
that.
attempt to pronounce your name. How do people find you online, man?
Just add funny Vivek sometimes with letter M. Try it. Both of them are me.
Has anyone looked up Vivek and not found you? That's what I want to know. Like, what else is there?
I have no idea. I've never actually
Yes,
Googled
you
myself.
have. You just-
All right,
pretend
actually,
you don't Google
I'm
yourself.
the 6th search when you search for Vivek on Google. I'm the 4th on Bing. Now I have no idea. Like, I guess there must be another Vivek in Hong Kong.
Well, you can find me at Andy Curtin on everything. If you like the podcast, hit subscribe. Doesn't matter what platform you're on. It all helps. Also, we have a Patreon, which is where we put the good stuff.
That's
to be
right.
honest. You can check it out. Patreon.com/HoHoPod. We put out a bonus ep every Thursday and random other bits of video and stuff like that.
It's worth it.
I like it.
I do it.
So today's guest is we're about to be humiliated about our lack of contribution to the world. He's the founder of Green Common, founder of Green Mondays, founder of OmniPork.
Oddly enough, not the founder of the green screen.
Why?
That was the first idea I had.
I guess won the Social Entrepreneur of the Year award at the World Economic Forum in 2018, recognized in Fortune's 2020 Change the World list, and is the author of a number of best-selling books on Zen, wisdom, and mindfulness. David Yeung, how you doing, man?
Hey, I cannot find everything.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's got to do something else too.
He said that like he tried.
Yeah, he probably did. He's like, can I make a vegan green
He's like,
screen?
I was close.
Yeah, I had half of it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Do you just hate sleep? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, I work about 48 hours a day, and slave drive every member of the team.
Yeah.
No, I mean just this huge. This is an urgent crisis. I mean, it's not really just driven by me. It's driven by the circumstances that we're in. I mean, we are in big crisis, and the clock is ticking. So, I mean, I'm the kind of person who is a doer. I mean, I just cannot look at a problem. I mean, it's something about my DNA, my nature is if I see a problem, I'm not a complainer.
Yeah.
I like to solve something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's how
we're
I got
comedians.
started.
We are exclusively complainers. That's
Yeah.
Yes. That's why we sit together.
Exactly. We'll let you know and we'll just leave. And take care of that, David.
Yeah.
Do something.
I don't
Well,
want to
we need
solve
different
the
people
problem.
doing different things. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Not everyone can do everything. Yeah.
So Hong Kong, born and bred.
That's right. So born here, went to the States when I was 16. So finished my last 2 years of high school, college, and then my first couple years of my career in the U.S. in New York.
New York guy.
Yes, New York.
I love New York. New York is
Yeah,
just
there's
the
something
best.
about New York.
Just got that energy.
It really, I mean, that vibe.
yeah.
That vibe of New York, you cannot find. Now, I know...
There's
like,
elements of it here. Like it's not the
You
same.
mean in
but
Hong
it's
Kong,
similar.
right?
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I think Hong Kong may be one of the closest of that vibe to
Yeah.
New York.
Everyone's just as rude here. I love it.
I know, yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I love it.
Impatient.
Oh,
I think
no
there's
time.
more people from Hong Kong in New York, though.
No, I think people with the Hong Kong essence in New York, that's what it is. No, I love the fact that we have no time for politeness here. And it just reminds me of New York, like, where you going? I don't care. Like, yeah,
Well, the thing that
I love
stands
it.
out to me in both of them is like you could be there for any amount of time, decades, and someone will still be like, oh, there's this thing down here you didn't even notice. There's a door
Yeah.
and there's some secret
Oh, yeah.
community that's just going on and some cool like little
Yeah.
random show or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that, I love that.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
been happening every Thursday at 11:25 p.m. and you had no idea, huh?
You had no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
Hong Kong's so crazy like that. People can go, did you know there's an elevator here? And it goes up, and then actually up here there's
Yeah.
this thing that you didn't know about.
Yeah. And you're like, wow, I don't dare call myself a Hong Kong or a local anymore.
So what brought you back? Like, why did you come back?
What brought me back? It was 18 years ago, and a few years after my career, after I started my career, I don't know. I mean, I'm from Hong Kong, and obviously Asia, was booming, has been booming since.
And you were a management consultant?
Yes, I started out. Well, I mean, not too many people go way back to my management consulting days.
But that's a very interesting starting point because
Yep.
management consultants are a certain type of person.
Very
Right.
type A, right?
Well, just like crazy working hours, like big problem solvers.
I was in consulting for a year and a half, and then at the age of 23, I already started my first company.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a software company back in 1999. So starting something
What was the
is really in
incentive,
me.
though? Like to start your own thing, was it you hated your boss or you just didn't want to work?
That was one of it.
Okay. So lesson number 1, find a terrible boss.
Also, management consultants, if I understand correctly,
Yeah, he drove me away.
well, management consultants, if I understand correctly, they get paid a lot of money to give people advice that they're never going to take.
I'm not going to comment on that. I have too many consultant friends. I left consulting, but I still have too
That's
many
the
friends
difference
in
between consultants
consulting.
and comedians.
What was the software company that you started? What was that? What,
It was messaging. I mean, in fact, there were
if you're about
lot
to
of-
tell me you started WhatsApp, then we're
Yeah.
just ending now.
you know what? Yeah, we were just a little bit too early.
Yeah.
If we had started maybe a few years later, who knew what it could become? But indeed, it had a lot of elements of our common messaging platform that we have today. I mean, it was in our deck. It was on a drawing board. We went through the first 18 months of, getting funding, assembling a team of 20-something people. And then, well, I don't know how many people in the audience recall this, and then in 2000, 2001, the market crashed, like big time.
For
like
tech as well, particularly.
particular tech. It was the tech bubble. So from NASDAQ was plummet from 5,000 to below 1,000. Like plummet 80%.
That's crazy.
So even the massive, well, back in those days, the dot-coms and many of the conglomerates and, giants at that time, they were down to like a penny, a stock price or something. So we had no choice. I mean, the funding that was promised by some of the investors, I mean, they had to save those capital for their own portfolio. So I end up closing my first company about less than 2 years after I
So
started.
what are you, like 27 at that point?
Not even. I was like 24, 25.
Oh my
And were you like, well, my career's over now?
Yeah.
What was do you remember what you felt at that time? Like, what was your outlook?
I actually had quite some deep soul searching. I didn't immediately go back to start another company. I didn't go search for a job immediately. I just kind of sat back and thought, like observed, like why, like this whole mania. I mean, indeed, at the end, like there was this famous phrase called irrational exuberance.
Yeah.
And indeed, it was ridiculously irrational. So I was just sat back and, it's almost like after like a basketball game or something.
Yeah.
You kind of went through, quarter by quarter or even possession by possession. Hey, what could I have done? I mean, what could I have done better? Or did I do anything wrong? Or was it just the circumstances? And of course, it was a combination of all of the above.
I know a lot of comedians who should do that after every single show they perform.
I know a lot that don't.
Exactly. And you can tell. You can definitely tell, like, yeah.
It's like watching your game tape or
Yeah.
your show.
Oh, yeah.
But in my case, it was kind of like reviewing, kind of every month, every 2 months, like the key decisions that we took or we did not take that at the end led to that. It was, of course, very hard. I mean, I was heartbroken at that time.
Yeah.
But that also turned out to be the most valuable lesson.
You are such a doer, man. Like, we all know we should, and you actually did it. Oh, my goodness. And now look at you.
It was painful.
Yeah, I can. Oh, definitely. Oh, trust me.
So what strategies did you use to get yourself out of that rut?
The first thing, well, my dad has always been, I mean, a huge inspiration. He passed away, but he really was such a wise person, wise man. So, like he said, I mean, you are what, 25? I mean, this, like he actually congratulated me. I mean, not in like a cynical way.
Early failure.
But hey, look at you, boo, I told you so. Like, wasn't that kind of, a congratulation, but he was like, hey, I mean, everyone fails.
Yeah.
Who doesn't fail? I mean, in fact, if you really want to accomplish something in life, then failing early is a good thing. I mean, now at that time, I couldn't really digest that, But like those words set back. So he's like, don't rush back to do, like the next thing or, don't get frustrated and then, you want redemption or something. Just sit back, and, I mean, it's not like there's an urgency that you have to prove anything.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow, life is a long journey. So
I don't think many 25-year-olds understand that.
Yeah, most of them are like,
I didn't. I mean, I was frustrated. But but that led me to that experience did lead me because I had some time. So indeed, that was the door opener for me to study and get more into, like, for example, reading about Zen Buddhism, a lot about just wisdom of life and things like that. Our relationship between us and the world, us and the whole environment and all that. So I started the one major decision I made after I closed my company, and because I was reading more about Zen wisdom, was I started becoming vegetarian. I stopped eating meat. I felt pain in my startup or entrepreneurial failure. And that pain, of course, was not fun. And I just start to, extend that to think, hey, no one wants pain. No lives want pain or suffering, right? Why would I want to inflict suffering on other beings? So indeed, 2001, which was the year when I closed my business, it also was the year when I started my plant-based journey. So I've been vegetarian for 20 years.
So it was totally the catalyst for everything that came after that, really.
In fact, if without that experience, I probably would not turn vegetarian, and indeed, there would be no Green Monday, Green Common, and OmniPork.
What an unusual takeaway, right?
Yes.
Stock prices are down. That's it. No more meat.
That's the connection.
Like, maybe try saving? I don't know.
So if you really want, very few interviews, ask me to go way back to that particular...
Oh, no, we're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but indeed, that from as far as my personal journey is concerned, that opened the door for me in terms of this whole, just vegetarianism, my concern about other lives, environment, and all that. Yeah.
So, what was your first step into opening a green business?
Well, again, there's something that happened in the middle. I founded Green Monday in 2012, but something happened in the middle. So, me being a vegetarian was really just my personal compassion for animals.
Yeah.
Don't want to hurt other lives. But in 2006, I watched The Inconvenient Truth. And that year also, United Nations, IPCC, published the report that said livestock carbon emission is more than all transportation combined. Ooh. So two things happened in 2006, to me at least, that I was like, wait a minute. There's this thing called climate change that this is threatening the whole planet and the whole humanity, and eating meat actually contributes to that damage. And I, being a vegetarian already at that time, I'm like, so I'm doing a tiny, tiny, tiny part to save the world. So since that 2006, kind of back-to-back events or awakening, I've been on kind of a one-man journey of just every meal, I would use that occasion to try to say, hey, actually, if you eat less meat, you can do something good for the world. And people look at me like I'm an alien.
Yeah.
So, and then another 6 years later, by 2012, I somehow, for the second time in my life, summoned that courage to start a venture.
And you started, so you came back to Hong Kong?
I came back to Hong Kong in end of 2003.
Okay, so you'd been back here for that period of time, right?
Yeah.
And what was it like starting it? Because I imagine the landscape for doing something green at that time was completely different to now, right?
There was no landscape.
Yeah, honestly, over here, if you tell anybody, oh, go vegetarian, the first thing is like, where's your energy?
Yeah.
You won't have any energy.
Well, I remember it being because I lived in Shanghai for 10 years, and even pretty recently, you go to restaurants, you try to order vegetarian, and they're sprinkling pork on top of it,
Yeah.
And they're like, can you get no meat on it? They're like, why?
Yeah.
That is so common. Like, you look at, there are endless traps. Any vegetarians can resonate with this, which is you go to a restaurant, you look at the menu, supposedly it says sauteed string bean, and it doesn't mention any word about beef, pork, or meat.
Yeah.
And then when they come, it comes with shrimp.
Literally happened on Friday.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, at a nice restaurant.
Yes.
And I was like, I bit into it. Because it kind of looked like tofu. And I'm like, what is this? Like pork? And I pulled the menu out. I was like, this explicitly has nothing about meat on it.
Right. So, Yeah, indeed, there were so many misperceptions. So, yeah, to your question, there was no landscape. I guess I still wonder how I did it, like 9 years ago, to say, this is something that needs to be done. It's the right thing to do. No one was doing it. I will somehow make something happen. I can't say, we are successful or not, but at least, over the last 9 years, pretty sure that we have catalyzed some change in our society.
I can say you're successful.
I think, the fact that you can go to McDonald's now and comfortably order food and not feel alienated next to the next person. What are you eating? What's that? We getting some bread only, and you have OmniPork on luncheon meat. And
well, actually, I wanted to get into that. Right,
that
so
is
OmniPork, your brand OmniPork is amazing, by the way. But
Thank
you've
you.
gotten into Cathay Pacific, Michelin-starred restaurants, McDonald's. When you got into McDonald's, you must have just been like,
it's done.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, that's basically Kevin Harding your food.
Dude,
into the fast
Garen
food,
had the funniest joke about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
He was like, for decades, people went to McDonald's being like, is this really meat? What is this? and now they're like,
This is
wait, I
definitely
want the
not meat."
fake meat now.
Yeah.
We wanted people were so paranoid that it was fake meat before.
I can tell you now, every time when I walk into a McDonald's and I look at that menu with the OmniPork luncheon, whether it's a sandwich or the breakfast set and all that, I still kind of just poke myself.
Yeah.
Just hear this cha-ching.
yeah.
No, I was really meaning is this real?
No, I think you did.
fair
I think
enough,
you
we
did.
get it.
But it's such a phenomenal metric for broader acceptance, right?
Yes.
What's more common than McDonald's?
Green.
Really?
Green's common.
Yeah, all
No,
right.
okay, look
As
at
soon
that.
as I use the word common, I was like, I can hear the pun gun getting loaded over here.
Yeah, I was like, it's too easy. Just say it. No, I'll give you this, though. Growing up Indian in Hong Kong, a lot of my family are vegetarian.
Right.
And whenever we did go to McDonald's, it was a real challenge. They would actually order a Big Mac without the meat. Right? And the people
Yeah.
at the counter are like, are you crazy? Do you not know why people order this food? Right?
And
would
they
actually-
charge you the same, of course.
same amount,
Yeah.
right? And then they just give some ketchup and everything. No extra lettuce, no nothing. Now, they're like, all right, I can go to McDonald's, legitimately look around the room, be like, yeah, I'm one of you guys. I can do this too. Right?
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
It really is a game changer. So many people have messaged me, emailed me, or of course in person, just said this. I totally think that McDonald's, because of this collaboration, has brought a lot of people who haven't walked into McDonald's for
absolutely.
years or maybe even decades. This could be besides the vegan vegetarian, obviously, but just people who don't think about going into McDonald's anymore for their own whatever reason, right? So it has broadened their base. And of course, in our case, it has totally broadened our base. So truly a win-win. And since we launched in October, I'm just very proud to say that because as much of the work that we do, at the end, it is about the general acceptance by the society. If I can kind of do the rally, but if no one follows, then it dies there, right? So the momentum has been strong.
But I would imagine, and I'd say this is a complete layperson, right? But there's levels of there's a level that you need to get to. It's like you look at solar cells, right? They're like, we can make solar cells, but they have to be subsidized because they're so expensive. It doesn't make sense. And there's a point where you go, no, this is good. I eat it on the Pizza Express, OmniPork pizza, and I'm like, this is great.
This is really good.
It's legitimately a great pizza.
Yeah.
And it's that point where you're like, I'm not having the crappy version. I feel like people think as a vegetarian, you're like, oh, it must suck to go out. I'm like, man, we're eating great food.
They used to look at you with mercy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, poor
I don't
you.
feel like I'm
Yeah, yeah,
missing
yeah.
out, I'm
Yeah, when you're paying the bill together, you know what? You just split 1/3. We'll take care of everything else. You didn't really eat that much, but now the Pizza Express.
Oh, you
OmniPork
think it's
pizza,
cheaper to eat vegetarian?
No, they just feel bad that you didn't eat as much as we did. Here
You only had the appetizer.
Yeah, we'll subsidize you a
Who are
little
your
bit.
friends?
Oh, let me not get into that. That's another podcast, man. No, but I'll tell you this though, the OmniPork, especially the Pizza Express pizza, because I would actually proactively order that over the other pizzas. If I had a choice of pepperoni versus that one, I would go for the OmniPork one. I'm like, that is really good.
And
Like,
you're a meat eater.
and I'm a meat eater, but like I would actually go for that because I'm like that is the level it's at. That's why I was so impressed. The McDonald's thing as well is like now I can go in there not feeling like oh I'm at McDonald's really like I'm 38 I'm eating. Now I'm like I'm changing the world. I'm here to save the world. I'm gonna eat McDonald's today
I'll
just
have
to make a
big
better place.
fries and a
Yeah, I want
big
a deep-
milkshake.
I will send that quote that you just said to the CEO of McDonald's right there. You know,
yeah.
when I order the OmniPork lunch, I'm changing the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, indeed, right? I guess this is, there's a term called purpose marketing now, which is, it's not just appealing to your senses, it is appealing to your heart and soul. Like
Yeah.
it evokes that sense of mission and purpose that, with the purchase, I am voting for a better world.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you say that because indeed, I think that is what we want to kind of subtly plant that seed into people that, beyond, I mean, of course, the taste must be good. I mean, we're talking about food. I mean, we enjoy food. There's nothing wrong with that. But beyond the enjoyment from a taste and sense satisfaction standpoint is there is huge impact behind the food we choose. So choosing the OmniPork pizza, even though you are a meat eater, and try to let more meat-eating friends to try that. I mean, that opened doors to more and more, and that's how it goes viral.
Yeah, I'll tell you another game changer. This one for myself as well was this year. You guys had the first ever vegan pun choi for Chinese New Year.
Wow, you really
Dude,
follow us.
I ate it, dude. I ordered it. I saw it and I was like, done.
That's the Chinese New Year pun
Yeah,
choi,
the Chinese New Year pun choi, the big
What's
dish.
pun choi?
Pun choi is basically Chinese New Year, that round dish where they have normally they have say abalone, shrimps, and stuff like that in it, where the whole family gathers around it and eats from it because everything has a meaning behind it. It's basically like a big bowl of stuff that you can just eat during Chinese New Year. So every year, my mom, she's vegetarian, so she's never had this before. I saw the ad, I'm like, done. And then just to top it off, I hit the early bird time. I'm like, this is a win-win for me. Done and done. You get another discount. I ordered it.
You racking up brownie points.
Oh, let me tell you, that was game changer. I still have the little flyer poster on in my house on my board over there, just to remind me that next year this is happening again. Because first year ever, my mom and myself are eating pun choi during Chinese New Year
Wow.
because it's vegan. So I was like that, and let me tell you this. Okay, I was like, okay, maybe some broccoli, a little soy, bean curd, whatever. It was legitimately good. Like, I wasn't missing any of the abalone or shrimps and stuff like that.
I'm very glad to hear that. I mean, our chef team really put in a lot of efforts into the pun choi because this year, of course, Chinese New Year, it was still during the COVID fourth wave. So pretty much like we are virtually locked down. Like you cannot go out for dinner. So there's no Chinese New Year festivity at all.
Oh, it was crazy,
I mean,
right?
to be honest,
Except for my building guard, he was ready for the license. He was like, COVID or no COVID, I'm touching.
no, I think this is a down year even for him, okay?
Yeah.
But you can see, I mean, sad to say, but this has to be one of the most depressing Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
Like, in memory ever.
Well, last year wasn't much better.
True. I
Yeah.
mean, last year was actually the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we were kind of semi-people, like, kind of
Yeah.
ready, not ready. This year, we're like, we're not
I
meeting.
feel like last year was a scarier time as well because thinking back, that period of time, we really didn't know how bad this was going to be. Like
So-
now, this year, we had a better handle on what COVID
Right.
was. But I remember then being like, I was panicked.
Because
around that
during
time.
Chinese New Year, it's very typical that families visit family. 拜年嘛,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they go, and then get the red,
lycee.
the lycee,
Oh, yeah.
the red envelopes, right? But this year, obviously, just like 90% of those activities have been shut down. People stay home. So our chef team, really, I mean, they were like, well, then. I mean, honestly, what do people eat? I mean, and obviously, we still want to get that warm, cozy family gathering when people are staying at home. So the pun choi idea came up, and they did rounds of tasting and testing. Indeed, I mean, that was so well received. We'll be doing another pun choi idea for Mother's Day.
Oh, okay.
Different recipe,
Yeah.
but for
Look
Mother's
at
Day.
this guy back on the marketing train.
Yeah.
It doesn't miss a beat.
Of course, come on. I'm on air right now.
Fair. So I just going back a little bit. Oh, I just one point. I saw that you mentioned in an interview that you felt that COVID was perhaps a bit of a catalyst to plant-based. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's ironic because obviously no one wants to have events like COVID to happen. This is the worst pandemic in over 100 years. But I guess it wakes people up to how vulnerable we are, how fragile we all are, and how fragile the planet could be. And the truth is, as bad as COVID is, climate change is like 1,000, 1,000,000 times worse. I mean, and that really, I mean, that is hanging right on top of our head right now.
Sort of Damocles.
That's the
right?
problem.
Yes.
Like climate change, we're so used to like the spring, autumn, winter, summer things. So like, yeah, I can deal with change, but like we're talking climate change like tsunamis and stuff like that happening.
Yeah,
right?
extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme storm, extreme flood, extreme droughts.
Extreme like frost,
Everything.
like, shopping malls.
But with more specificity, what is the connection in your mind between the plant-based industry
Right.
and COVID?
Now, first of all, people start to understand more that zoonotic diseases are 75% of zoonotic diseases are transmitted from animals to human beings. So COVID really is not the first time a pandemic comes from animals. And you actually look at many of the news, avian flu is still happening in many places in the world. And about a couple of weeks ago, there was a case in Russia that avian flu is transmitting to human beings from poultry.
Man.
So honestly, I mean, I think the more people read, obviously now with social media, people start to really think and say, man, these are all risks surrounding us, and they are time bombs ready to take off. So I mean, and now of course with the plant-based movement, I think there are many more advocates. I mean, again, even with you going to you go a Green Monday or Friday or Sunday, doesn't matter. I mean, everyone becomes more knowledgeable, and particularly the young people, I think, millennials and Gen Zs. I mean, they are clearly taking this seriously because they will be inheriting a broken down planet. Really, just a bad planet is what they will be, that's what they're looking into. So the plant-based movement, because of COVID, ironically, I mean, it becomes this catalyst that more people say, hey, for health, for environment, for, safety, whatever, they should at least try to shift the portion a little bit.
No, it's funny because like I'm a Hindu, right? So my family actually used to have this thing like Monday, Thursday, Saturdays were vegetarian days for religious reasons. So I just want to say welcome to the club. Like you finally have just done Monday. Oh, look at you!
We are so late to the game,
A
right?
flag in it. Like,
I just like look at me. I did Monday vegetarian.
oh
Yay.
yeah, I founded several days of the week. So
Okay, we admit we are copycats. Fine.
No, it's fine. I mean, the thing though is like you are very true in the newer generation, the younger generation are really advocates because I'm actually part of this campaign. There's a student who's doing a campaign called Lives Without Knives, and she's trying to like promote the whole vegan lifestyle.
that's
but
a great name, by the way.
right? Lives Without Knives.
Lives Without Knives.
Yeah, but forks can kill you too. But
Yeah.
you win some, you lose some, right? So, so she's actually because I'm supposed to be her mentor. And I feel weird because I'm trying to mentor a kid going like, don't listen to everything I say, but take it with a grain of salt. But what the cool thing is that she's trying to make this experience package, like a 10-day vegan experience, where it's like, why don't you try and see if you can get this challenge of the experience, and it's a fun little game. So I think like with veganism, it's no longer like an issue like before. It's like, oh, religious, you must don't kill the meat and everything, the animals. But now it's like, hey, I want to see what it's like to be a vegan. It's actually quite an interesting thing. Like it's like if you're suddenly told you're allergic to a certain type of food. Like there was a time when I wasn't doing well. I was trying to avoid gluten, and I was like, wow, this is actually quite an adventure.
Oh, I hated it. It's very hard.
Yeah, I mean, but then you don't notice. Oh, these chips are gluten free. Oh, yeah.
I figured out how to tell if something has gluten in it.
Yeah.
It tastes good.
Well, no. I'll give you this though. Like a lot of chips, I remember I was at Green Common and like there's a lot of gluten-free stuff there. So I was like, hey, this is gluten-free, this is gluten-free, and let me just say, they're not low calories, all right? Some of these chips and goodies.
Well,
and I'm like,
sugary stuff is often gluten-free.
that's gluten-free as well. Yeah, rice is gluten-free, so you can go nuts with that one as well. So, but it's fascinating, and then you really kind of go, hey, wait, can I do this whole vegan thing? I remember my mom and myself were like exploring the whole vegan options. We had like OmniPork and OmniLunch and everything, and we were just experimenting and making dishes. Like in Taiwan, they have the yokchofan,
Yes.
where it's like the minced pork rice, and
That's a
the
household
OmniPork-
dish, yeah.
Right, and we just basically took the OmniPork, the minced one, and then put it in rice, and it was good. I was like, This is impressive.
Yeah, dude, we've been having in our house. We have bolognese. The what do you call it? Like bolognese, spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
It's killer.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
super, super good.
Yeah. For that one, I like the Beyond Beef one for the bolognese.
I was like, I don't know what my family's using, but it tastes great.
Yeah, hey, I'll take it. But I think the new generation definitely are considering this as more, not really just like a thing to do save the planet, but it's like a lifestyle thing right now, right?
That's what we want to get it to be. I mean, it should not just be like a heavy, kind of almost like lecturing people type
guilt
of thing.
trip them into it,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Yeah.
I mean, if guilt tripping or shaming, blaming, I mean, that will not go far. I mean, people. Who wants to be lectured, honestly? I mean, we're talking about, hey, just go out, Friday night, have a good time. And then you're like, okay, if you eat this, you are hurting the planet. You're hurting the future generation. I mean, who wants to hear that?
Catholics are big on that.
So really, I mean, in fact, we must turn it into a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want it to be sustainable.
Yeah.
So just winding the clock back a little bit. So you start Green Mondays and you're facing a market that just has no awareness at all of what you're doing. Was there times when you were like, this is not going to work? These people are not listening.
Every day.
Every day. You still feel that way. But you can see there's a difference now to then, right? Like, can you talk a little bit about what kind of strategies did you use to shift, to move the needle at that time?
Well, strategy number one is you got to lower the barrier. I mean, you got to make it something that people really can at least attempt, So rather than using words like meatless, meat-free, or even vegan, to be honest, because
that's a heavy word as well.
That's a heavy
word. It's definitely got a negative connotation to many people's ears.
Yeah. I mean, the word green is just it's obviously an easy word, and it's very hard for people to say, I hate green, right? I mean, it's like green is something good. So Green Monday, let's do it one day a week or one meal a week, a Green Monday lunch or Green Monday dinner. Like set the bar really low, but then you can really get a lot of people to do it together. I mean, I think that's a key. It's an actionable thing. It's a small ask. We're not asking them to make like a 180 change to their whole life. It's just, hey, let's do this. That's number one. Like lower the barrier. Number two is indeed to make it trendy, reframe the whole thing. So rather than, again, from a religion standpoint or moral standpoint, you are killing animals. Using that, kind of the scientific. Hey, you can do this. You are contributing to, reducing carbon footprints, and then more science. And then, of course, later on with, the Beyond Meats, the Impossible Foods, the Omnis, right? I mean, then you have plant-based protein that are nutritious and, tasty at the same time. So, I mean, the evolution has been, first reframing people's mind, lower the barrier to get people in the door first, and then second is to provide options to empower them.
And did you feel, obviously that's, I would guess through trial and error, you figured out that this is what works. Were there any perceptions or strategies that you used that you were like, this just didn't work? Like, did you go through a phase of being like, what if we tell them they'll burn in hell? Like, is there anything, is there anything you tried where you're like, that's really not working? It's not connecting.
Well, as I said earlier, right? I mean, people don't like to be lectured. So guilt tripping is not going to work.
Did you ever try anything that didn't work though?
I mean, there were many. I mean, it's constantly a trial and error process, right? So now with food, we always need to think it's a very cultural thing. So you were mentioning about Chinese New Year, like people eat pun choi, or 蘿蔔糕, right? Okay, so if we want to really change people of different parts of the world, we must think about localizing. So even with, like, we have Beyond Burger at Green Common, of course, and we've been, really promoting that. But even, I won't say it didn't work, but amazingly, when you put the Beyond Burger on, let's say, curry, and make it a curry Beyond Burger rice, in many Green Common locations, that sells better than the burger itself.
Yeah.
Because we're in Hong Kong. And well, for the general public, most people prefer rice, So these are all these are not failures at all. I mean, they can absolutely coexist. What I'm saying is these kind of trial and error led us to think that, hey, there are recipes or there are culinary applications that would work even more effectively to move the needle.
Interesting, yeah. What do you feel now, like this year, is the most important part of what you're doing personally? What do you think is the most important thing at the moment?
2021, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, number one, we still have to get over COVID, as a city, as a world, and us as a company, just navigating these daily challenges and obstacles. It is maddening, to be honest. As much as we say, it has been over a year now, but every day there's a new challenge. Something happens, and then
even right now, there's this gym is
this
gone.
minute right now, yeah.
All these infections are going out, and people are canceling for shows and stuff, and it's just this.
So we really are living almost like hour by hour, minute by minute. You honestly don't know what could happen in the next hour.
Yeah.
And that suddenly will turn things upside down. But besides that, I think for us, we are very fortunate to be in the position that Green Monday, Omni, we are really expanding regionally and even globally. So our products are now in 13 countries across Asia Pacific, and by July this year, which is less than 4 months, we'll be in 20 countries.
Incredible.
Have you ever thought of other animals? You're helping a lot of pigs. What about the poor pigeons? Nobody cares about them.
Omni pigeon.
Yeah.
This indeed, many friends. It's like, hey, David, do we have a particular affinity to pigs that we want to help pigs more? Pork happens to be the most consumed meat.
True, yeah.
By
Is
far.
that why you started with it?
Yeah.
Got it.
In Asia, it's not even close. 65.
Pigeon might be up there.
I would have thought maybe you saw the Inconvenient Change, maybe you saw the movie Babe. You're like, hey, put two and two together. Let's save a few pigs over there.
That helped too.
Yeah.
That made a difference. And maybe Peppa Pig.
Yeah, it could be that. Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
want to
lot of
live
kids
in a
go,
future where someone's like, ugh, I got shit on by an Omni pigeon today.
Exactly. Damn you,
That's
white sauce.
progress right there.
Damn you, vegan white sauce.
By default, it's called Omni, right? It could be Omni a lot of things. Now, our R&D team definitely is working a lot of very exciting things in the pipeline. We will be unveiling some non-plant-based pork items this year. Yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
But is there any direction you're going? Do you want more land-based animals or going to the skies? Or
Yeah, when we get some
water-based?
Omni dolphin.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I want to, if you tell me I'm going to work on an Omni salmon, I want to go to the ocean and be like, you had your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky bunch. He's taking care of you guys.
Well, we'll keep it, in suspense right now. I'll tell you more in a few months. But we have some very exciting things coming. You'll be one of the first people that we invite to
Cool.
kind of the stealth tasting.
That would be amazing.
yes.
Yeah. So in whatever general terms you like, what best case scenario? Where do you see everything you're working on being 5 years from now?
Best case scenario.
Where would you like it to be?
We want the whole world. Not just Hong Kong, not just a few cities, but the whole world. More and more people become flexitarian. They don't even need to mention about Green Monday anymore. Actually, our best case scenario is people forget about Green Monday because green just become every day. Maybe it becomes Red Monday. That Monday becomes the only day that
To eat meat?
to eat meat,
the poor animals on Sunday night.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough time
So,
tomorrow.
honestly, that would be the best case scenario. Is you don't. Let's say people who nowadays into exercise, you don't have to remind yourself to say, today I need to
leg
run
day.
again. It just become your routine.
Yeah.
It just become your routine. So, for us in 5 years, I do think things can change very fast. 5 years ago, I still remember the first time when we mentioned Beyond Meats in Hong Kong. Again, we were treated as aliens. I was constantly an alien, basically. And now I don't need to explain the success of Beyond Meat on a global level. It is a phenomenon. So I am optimistic, to be honest. I can see that, when a lot of people put their effort behind it, and now also with, investors, with entrepreneurs, and with bright scientists, innovators behind this. I mean, I see some huge impact and huge change happening in the next 5 to 10
Do you
years.
ever worry we run out of plants? Like, we'd have way too much oxygen.
Well, the thing about
trees are
plants,
growing.
though, is like the efficiency of agricultural land use. Like, you
Yeah.
basically can't increase your output from land used for meat. It's quite limited. But plant, you can massively escalate the output. You can go vertically, right? Am I right?
There
about
are a
this?
lot of vertical farms right now, and a lot of companies that are maximizing the output on a per square meter or per land, per acre of land basis. But still, the reality is we totally can feed the world if we reduce animals, because the animals right now, the 1.5 billion cows, the 1.5 billion pigs, and the 20 plus billion chicken, they are all fighting for the same food and water that can feed us. Now we are cutting trees in Amazon, not because we need to necessarily have more furniture. It's because they use the land to grow soy and corn that turn into animal feed to the cows, the pigs, and the chicken and others.
So we just got to cut out the middleman and feed ourselves.
Yeah.
Eat the feed, and now we're turning those into plant-based ingredients that we like. Whether it's a nugget or a burger or minced pork, you name them.
And also the distance of the time between an animal being born and then eating it is so much longer than a plant being grown and then consuming. I mean, you can just reharvest it every year,
Right.
If there was if you could put what do you call it, the skywriting, if there's one message you could send out to people, what would it be?
The planet is dying.
Wow, keeping it positive. What happened to not
Don't guilt trip
shaming
them.
people?
Don't guilt trip us.
The planet is dying. I mean, do something. Go Green Monday.
Yeah, nice.
Go green every day. I mean, the 6 words. I mean, the 6 words that is the model for our whole group is called "Make Change Happen, Make Green Common." I mean, that is the positive. No matter how small that baby step may look like, do it. I mean, you don't underestimate. Even if you tell 2 friends, like when you bring 2 friends and say, "Hey, let's try this pizza together." I mean, it is not animal based. Just start from baby step, but do it consistently. Make change happen. Make green common. I guess I would put those 6 words up.
Man, thanks so much for sharing your time today. It's been
Thank you.
fascinating.
My pleasure.